So here's a tidbit of information you may not know about the origin of the phrase conspiracy theory. According to investigative journalist Sharyl Attkisson, you remember her, she's the journalist who had to leave CBS because they wouldn't let her run stories that reflected badly on President Barack Obama, even though she'd run plenty of stories that reflected badly on George W. Bush. But anyway, in Atkinson's book Smear, she talks about the fact that the phrase conspiracy theory was invented by the CIA in 1967 as a way to discredit people who suspected the CIA of conspiracies. The spy agency was apparently responsible for promoting the phrase conspiracy theory for use as a powerful device in the lexicon of the smear artist, Atkinson writes. Before the covert CIA effort, which we can pinpoint to a secret memo in 1967, there was nothing controversial about discussing or exposing conspiracies. After all, a conspiracy is simply an agreement by two or more people to commit a bad act. Atkinson goes on, yet after the CIA secret memo, the public and media were brainwashed into dismissing out of hand those labeled as conspiracy theorists, as if only the mentally unbalanced would believe in the existence of conspiracies. Conspiracy theories have frequently thrown suspicion on our organization, reads the internal CIA memo. The aim of this memo is to provide material for countering and discrediting the claims of the conspiracy theorists. The CIA memo goes on to advise station chiefs to employ propaganda assets, friendly journalists and others, to use certain talking points. For instance, see if these talking points sound familiar. Argue that this conspiracy is nothing new. Insist that a large-scale conspiracy would be impossible to conceal in the United States. Smear critics as politically or financially motivated, hasty and inaccurate, or infatuated with their own theories. Now, yesterday, Andrew McCabe had to leave the FBI more suddenly than he planned. McCabe now joins James Comey, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, James Baker, and Jim Rybicki as FBI employees who were involved in the investigation of Hillary Clinton's secret email server and have since left or been reassigned under a cloud of suspicion. This doesn't necessarily prove that the Clinton investigation was mishandled or that the FBI is involved in a more tangled web of anti-Republican activity. But we do know this. The lack of journalistic curiosity about the behavior of our government during the Barack Obama administration was an invitation to exactly that kind of government corruption. Just as a reminder, here's a montage of our journalistic watchdogs asking President Obama the tough questions during his time in office.
A lot of parallels have been offered between yourself and John F. Kennedy, who also made history, came in with a young, attractive family, had a lot of big Harvard brains around him.
When was the first moment that it began to sink in that you were president of the United States?
Ask you about it. Any time in this campaign, did you have a chuckle that you just couldn't get rid of? Something weird that happened. It was so crazy that you just went to bed laughing about.
How confident are you that your plan is going to work, and how do you avoid the dangers of being too cocky?
You've racked up a lot of wins in the last few weeks that a lot of people thought would be difficult to come by. Are you ready to call yourself the comeback kid?
You know, you are the equivalent of a rock star in politics.
Do you feel sometimes like your administration is not given the credit it deserves?
Where do you get all this confidence?
How does this feel of all the honors that have come your way?
During these first 100 days, what has surprised you the most about this office, enchanted you the most about serving in this office?
That was then, but now, yesterday, soon after McCabe's resignation, the House Intelligence Committee voted on party lines to release a Republican-authored memo on possible FISA abuses at the Justice Department. We'll talk about that throughout the show. Here's one reaction from the press. It's a representative reaction. And remember, this is a press who has not yet read the memo. Watch this.
Donald Trump never just allows himself to have a straight shot at anything. Here we have the State of the Union coming up tonight. That should be the focus. But instead, you look at what happened last night in the House, and you had Nunes's memo, which twists the truth and it plays these crude political games with highly secret intelligence that make up most of the Republicans who voted to release this controversial memo that the Justice Department said would be extraordinarily reckless, had never even read the memo. And many who did read Nunes's memo say that it falsely summarized the reality and it's filled with all these falsehoods and these misleading conclusions, all in an attempt to slur law enforcement officers that Donald Trump, I don't know how I should say this, he's targeted them for a political purge.
Now, I don't know for sure yet if there was a conspiracy against Republicans at the FBI, but the continued attempts of a one-sided press to ignore and even hide the steady and unceasing abuse of power by Obama and other Democrats does amount to a conspiracy of silence. And that's no theory. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shaped, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right, we got a busy day today. It's the mailbag is tomorrow. And so you want to get your questions in if you are a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, hang your head in shame, because if you are a subscriber, all you got to do is go to the website, dailywire.com, hit the podcast button, hit the Andrew Klavan podcast button, and then there's a little button for the mailbag, and put that, and you can ask any question you want about religion, about politics, about your own personal problems and issues in the world. My answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life on occasion for the better. Then later today, we have the President's State of the Union address, and we will be covering that here live starting at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We're just going to hang out and talk about it. Me, Ben. Well, we let Knowles in? Yeah, I guess. Well, somebody's got to serve the drinks. And then, of course, we'll have the God King of the Daily Wire, Jeremy Boring, who will be lowered on a wire because that makes us laugh. And Alicia Krause will also be then there. You can send us questions live there, and we will answer you on air. And we may even fight among ourselves. Catch live streams at dailywire.com, Daily Wire Facebook, or Daily Wire YouTube to spend the evening with the three of us, the four of us, including Jeremy. We don't even like to speak his name because lightning flashes and everything. It's, we can't even speak Jeremy's name. But again, that's tonight, January 30th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube, and we will notify you when we go live so we can spend every unforgettable moment together. And since this is the State of the Union, there'll probably be a lot of forgettable moments, and we'll share those with you too. Later on, we have Andrew Hyatt here, a friend of mine, good friend of mine, who has just directed the major Easter release from Sony's faith-based pictures department, which is very exciting for me. I'm sure for him, but for me, we have this is kind of the Andrew Culture Week. We have Andrew Hyatt today. Then on Thursday we have Andy Weir, the guy who wrote The Martian, and I'll be here the whole week. So it's like just Andrews everywhere. Yeah, that's right. So we want to talk also. Oh, here's something new about Stamps.com. I'm always peddling Stamps.com, and I love Stamps.com because one of the reasons I love Stamps.com is because I love the post office. I have made my living through the post office for most of my life. They were so helpful to a writer. But now I want this stuff that's in the post office to be in my computer, and so I use Stamps.com. That's why. But, Stamps.com also can be helpful with postage rates. They keep going up at the post office, but Stamps.com keeps your rates down with postage discounts up to 40%. These are discounts you can't even get at the post office. Stamps.com saves you 3 cents on every letter you send. Pay 2016 prices for 2018 stamps. Just use Stamps.com and you can automatically calculate and print the correct amount of postage for every letter or package you send. Stamps.com brings you all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right at your fingertips. And right now, you too can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale, so you don't put too much postage on your letters. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Klavan. And I know what you say to yourself. They say, wow, that sounds great, but I can't do it because I don't know how to spell Klavan. But it's Klavan. So go to Stamps.com, enter Klavan, and you get a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale, Stamps.com. So here's what the Democrats did yesterday, okay? They ensured that 20-week-old babies can continue to be aborted. I mean, that's legal, I think, in 50 states. I believe that's legal, with some restrictions on it. Now, I got to stop here for a minute. And just to be fair, the Democrats, Bob Casey and Joe Manchin and Joe Donnelly, actually supported, they were trying to get the 60 votes they need to end the make-believe filibuster, which really they should be getting rid of, but they couldn't get the 60 votes. And so 3 Democrats did vote for this measure to end 20-week-old abortions of 20-week-old babies. And 2 Republicans, Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, the liberal Republicans, voted against it. You know, I have to pause here before we get to the FBI. 20 weeks, you know, I wrote this movie, this script about abortion, and we kept talking about 20 weeks, and somewhere along the line I stopped and went, 20 weeks, that's 5 months. At 5 months, an expectant mother can tell you the personality of the baby she's carrying. 5 months, are you kidding me? And of course, they're now finding out, big surprise, that 20-week-year-old infant, unborn baby can feel pain, so you're not just killing this poor creature, you're torturing it. Unbelievable. It is. This is unbelievable. And you know, I put this online sometimes. I'll put it up on Twitter, and I'll get these texts from pro-abortion people saying, these tweets from pro-abortion people saying, oh, well, no woman would abort that late unless she had a good reason. When did that happen? When did women become sparkly, supernatural creatures who never do anything wrong? I know women who shoot you in the head for $20 worth of crack. What are you talking about? If women do this, you know, women abort children for all kinds of reasons, including they want them to have a different star sign. I mean, you don't know what level of woman you're dealing with, what level of human being you're dealing with. And the other one I keep hearing is, you can't force a woman to carry a baby to term, which is like saying, you know, you can't force me not to kill my wife. You know, once you make a decision and that decision has consequences, you incur those consequences. When I decide to get married, I can't just walk out the door. I have to then go to law and say, I want a divorce. And I certainly can't blow my wife away because, you know, I have the right to, it's freedom to choose. And that's what they're saying. You made a decision. You made the decision to have sex. You made the decision. And you're the one who got pregnant. It didn't happen. You weren't hit by the pregnancy bolt. You know, this is obscene. The fact that this is the Democrats' calling card, that they did that, and then they keep attacking this tax cut as if it's a bad thing that ordinary middle-class people are going to get some extra money in their paycheck. They keep saying, oh, it's just crumbs, $1,000, it's just crumbs. It's just crumbs if you're a Democrat on the take, maybe, but, you know, $1,000 is a lot of money for most of us. For most people, that is, you know, a good amount of money, and that's kind of the bonuses they're handing out, and the bonuses are going to lead to higher pay. That's also happening. Finally, they went out of their way to shut down any talk of corruption at the FBI, to keep information from you, okay? So first we had McCabe, Andrew McCabe, in this week of Andrews. We had Andrew McCabe step down from, so that's what that's Democrats, high taxes, dead babies, and censorship. Like I said, thanks a lot, guys. So the head of the FBI, apparently, this is source material, but they say that he pressured Andrew McCabe to leave. Now, this is a very soft landing. He's going to retire in March anyway. He's still going to get his paycheck. He's still going to get his full pension. But it's just get out of the way. And we don't know why this happens. We don't know whether there's something bad coming down the pike. And Christopher Wray heard about it, that from the Inspector General's report, the Justice Department has an Inspector General studying the FBI's treatment of Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And so maybe there was something in that. But also, Christopher Wray went on and he saw this FISA memo. Okay. And, but according to the press, this is, I'm not sure I have time to play this, but according to the press, there's only one reason that McCabe stepped down, and that is Donald Trump forced him out as a way of wrong-footing the investigation into Russia. I won't play the montage, but all the networks, that's all they were saying. It's one after another. He's killing them off. It's like a holocaust of FBI agents, and they keep peddling this thing of like, he's lessening our trust in the FBI. I mean, the last time we had complete trust in the FBI, we got J. Edgar Hoover. You know, I mean, that was the kind of thing we had where you wouldn't question the FBI, are you? Because we might show up at your house, you know? It's like, we'll question anybody. You're just the government. You just work for us. And if you get dirty, we're going to clean you out. That's the way it works. So this is all about the FISA memo. The other reason he might have gone is Christopher Wray went and looked at the FISA memo. The Devin Nunes, who wrote the FISA memo and has, or at least organized the FISA memo, invited Wray to come in and say, look at this, just take a look at this and tell me what you think before we vote to release it. Now, let's talk about what this is about. FISA, obviously, Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, okay? Now, this was passed, people forget this, but this was passed during the Nixon, after the Nixon administration, 1978, because Nixon had been spying using foreign intelligence warrants to spy on radical demonstrators within the country, right? It was all this kind of, in the 60s, all the riots, all the demonstrations, and Nixon had been using spying on our own people. And they said, no, you've got to go to a FISA court. It's a secret court, but you have got to show cause to spy on Americans. We don't want a government spying on us. This is supposed to be America, right? So the thing that everybody's talking about is, did the Obama Justice Department use this Oppo research called the Steele dossier, completely unverified information, as part of the way to get FISA warrants to spy on the Donald Trump campaign? There's one guy, Carter Page, I think his name is. There's one guy they're saying was a Russian spy, which just seems absurd, but that was the excuse they were giving to spy on. So just think about this, because there are Democrats now saying, well, it may have been only one reason. If you're using the DNC and Hillary Clinton paid for the Steele dossier, it was Russian misinformation, it hasn't been verified, to use that to spy not just on me, on some American guy, but to spy on an actual political opponent, I mean, that is bad, that is bad. That is a major, major scandal. And it is appalling, the lack of curiosity the press is showing. It's appalling. I mean, if this were obviously Republican corruption, they'd be all over it. But the fact that it is this great sacred Barack Obama who ran the government like a Chicago machine, and it's coming out now, and this is part of what's coming out. Again, I don't know what's in the memo. I'm not going to tell you that it actually shows that they did this. But if I were a reporter, I would be salivating. I mean, I don't care, Republican or Democrat, I would think, wow, this is the story of my young lifetime. This is going to be the big scandal that I cover in my life. I would be all over this. So here, first of all, Adam Schiff comes out, and I've called him Joe McCarthy before, but here is an actual video of Adam Schiff lying, okay? I mean, he comes out, this guy who looks like a turtle escaped from his shell, and he comes out after they pass this vote, and it's there are more Republicans than Democrats on the House Intel Committee, and they vote that we're going to release this memo, which is what they say it is a compilation of information they got that was otherwise classified. So it's essentially an end run around the classified information to release this information. And here he comes. The cut I want on this is cut number 2, right?
That motion was voted down by the majority. The majority expressed a concern that something in the minority memoranda or otherwise could compromise sources and methods, and for exactly that reason, we asked that both memoranda be vetted by the FBI and the Department of Justice, but that was voted down.
So what he's saying there is they voted to release the GOP memo, but voted not to release the Dem memo, a counter memo that Adam Schiff wrote. That's not true, okay? That is simply not true. What they voted was, before releasing the GOP memo, they voted that everybody in the House should get to see it before they voted whether to release it to the public. So now they voted to do the same thing to the Democrat memo before releasing it, to make sure everybody in the House gets to read it before they release it to the public. So they voted to do the same, treat the Democratic memo the same way they treated the Republican memo. This, in spite of the fact that the people who have seen the memo say that the Republican memo is about the FBI, the Democrat memo is about the Republican memo. So now they're coming out with this absolute panic to make sure. You're going to start to see some leaks, by the way, because as long as the Republicans were the only people who had seen this, you saw no leaks. But once the FBI gets a hold of it, they will start to leak it out. And what they'll do is they'll leak it out to make it seem like it's not as bad. But you know it's bad because Nancy Pelosi was on the Chris Cuomo show, and Cuomo had the temerity at one point, you almost never see anybody do this on CNN, to push back a little bit and say, why should we trust you? Why should we all know how political everybody is, so why should we trust you? And I had our guys take Pelosi and just put together all her answers that she made, just one answer after another. We have this montage of her. This is cut number 7 during this amazing thing where, for once, Chris Cuomo actually pushed back and said, shouldn't the information go, almost as if he were a journalist and wanted information released to the public, which is what journalists are supposed to do. He pushed back a little, and she's insane. I mean, so this is a montage, cut number 7.
What they're putting forth is a total misrepresentation. It is false, and they're putting it out there as if it is factual, and then saying, we're going to show this to the American people, but we're not going to show the rebuttal to it by the Democrats. Now, this isn't not to be politicized. This is about fact. This is about security or not. It's about people in our country who work so hard to protect the American people in the intelligence community, and to be frivolous with their identity or roads that can lead to them.
You're saying that you think it puts lives at stake if this memo comes out?
I'm saying that intelligence that is necessary for other countries to share with us, why would they put it at the mercy of Dennis Nunes, who doesn't even read the memo, and say the American people should see it? This dark cloud hangs over the Capitol. It's called their tax cut. It's taken us $2 trillion additional into debt. That makes them afraid of incurring any further debt, so they don't want to spend money on the domestic agenda. And look what they're doing with family unification, making up a fake name, chain. They like the word chain. That sends tremors through people in our...
Well, you read something into everything in terms of what they're doing.
Of course I do. I see them every day.
I'm hysterical. I'm having hysterics. I'm hysterical. I can't stop when I get like this. I can't stop. I'm hysterical.
Just to summarize Pelosi's position, she says the memo is false, but it damages our national security. So if the memo is false, it doesn't damage anything, because who knows, it's not real information. But it damages our security, and it distracts from the fact that we now have lower taxes, which is a disaster. And meanwhile, they're putting immigrants in chains because they call it chain migration. That's her argument. Now compare this to Trey Gowdy, and this is before the vote to release the memo. Gowdy went on. Gowdy, who has backed the Robert Mueller investigation relentlessly. He has said, leave him, in his words, leave him the hell alone. Let him do his job. He has said this relentlessly. But when asked why they should release the memo on the Sunday show, this was his clearly reasonable answer.
This memo is nothing but the distilling, the reducing of thousands of pages of documents provided to us by the department and the Bureau. So there's nothing in this memo that the department is not already aware of. If you think your viewers want to know whether or not the dossier was used in court proceedings, whether or not it was vetted before it was used, whether or not it's ever been vetted, if you are interested in who paid for the dossier, if you're interested in Christopher Steele's relationship with Hillary Clinton and the Democrat National Committee, then yes, you'll want the memo to come out. If you're Adam Schiff, who is consistently wrong when it comes to issues of disclosure, he didn't want us to find out any of this information, Chris. He fought. In fact, GPS went to court. Fusion GPS went to court to keep us from finding out that the Democrats paid for the dossier. So if you're Adam Schiff, of course you don't want the information to come out. You didn't want us to find it in the first place.
So look, a really simple question. Who do you trust? The people who want information to come out to the public, or the people, including the press, who are trying so hard to keep it secret? For the answer, let's ask someone who knows.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Thank you, President Obama. Okay, so Andrew Hyatt is coming up, a terrific director who has directed a new movie about St. Paul. We'll talk to him first, but first we have to talk about Boll and Branch, because Boll and Branch are these terrific sheets. They are made from 100% organic cotton, which means they feel incredible, they look amazing, and since Boll and Branch sells exclusively online, you're not paying the expensive retail price that you would for that. That's half the price for twice the quality. Now, these sheets are great if you go to bed to sleep. But if, like me, you go to bed to stay awake and lie awake and think about things, then they're even better because you're comfortable all night long. They really are. They get more comfortable the more you watch them. Anyone who sleeps on Boll and Branch sheets loves them. That's why they have thousands of 5-star reviews. The New York Times, Forbes, the Wall Street Journal all rave about them. 3 U.S. presidents have Boll and Branch sheets, and I myself am not one of them. But I do have them too. I do love them. They're very, very nice. And they have great designs. You can just go and pick out anything. Go to BollandBranch.com today, and you'll get $50 off your first set of sheets, which is great. Since they're already much less expensive than they would be in the store, you get $50 off plus free shipping in the United States when you use the promo code Klavan. You might say, promo code, that's a strange word. How do you spell that? Well, it's Klavan. As Rob likes to say, there are no E's. There is no E's in Klavan, as everyone who knows me knows. That's $50 off plus free U.S. shipping right now at BollandBranch.com. That's spelled B-O-L-L and branch.com, because it's cotton. That's why. BolandBranch.com, promo code Klavan, BolandBranch.com, promo code Klavan for great sheets for cheaper than you'd get them in a store, and then $50 less because you listen to me. All right, we got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube, but you can come over to I lost my train of thought there. You come over to thedailywire.com. You can listen to the rest of the show, or while you're there, subscribe for a lousy $10 a month, and you can watch the show, the whole thing right there, and you don't have to be cast out, and you can be in the mailbag. The mailbag is tomorrow, so get your questions in, subscribe, and get your questions in. All right, we will take a break.